they've sold you a fiction. You've been told that being kind equals being strong, that if you're just compassionate enough, just patient enough, just accommodating enough, the people around you will see your worth. They'll honor you. They'll give you the treatment you deserve. But here's what's actually happening. The reality nobody has the courage to say out loud. Your goodness has become a weapon others use against you. Think about every instance you've agreed to something when everything inside you screamed no. Every moment you've prioritized someone else's desires over your own necessities, silently hoping they'd eventually recognize it, silently praying they'd finally show gratitude. Every single occasion you've contorted yourself into impossible shapes for people who wouldn't even inconvenience themselves slightly for you. You're not cultivating respect. You're creating a blueprint. You're providing a masterclass in how to exploit you. And the most devastating part? You're likely blind to the fact that this pattern even exists. Listen, we're raised on this sanitized, Disney-fied version of how life operates. Be pleasant. Stay modest. When someone strikes you, offer them your other cheek. Patience brings rewards. Treat others the way you want to be treated. These are lovely sentiments, genuinely beautiful philosophical concepts. But here's the part they conveniently leave out of those Instagram quote graphics and motivational posters. Reality doesn't function according to these rules. Not in your intimate relationships, not in your professional climb, not in any sphere where authority and leverage actually determine outcomes. And here's something you need to accept, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Authority and leverage determine outcomes everywhere. Niccolò Machiavelli grasped this fundamental truth 5 centuries ago, and right now, we're going to examine why his teachings carry more weight in our current moment than they ever have before. This conversation isn't about transforming you into something cruel or malicious. It's about preventing cruel and malicious people from treating you like a doormat. So if you've ever experienced that hollow feeling of being exploited, that frustration of being invisible despite doing everything correctly, that burning resentment of being disrespected when you've given everything, this message is specifically for you. We're going to discuss authority. We're going to discuss limits. And we're going to discuss why compassion divorced from power is just a prettier name for being weak. Now here's what I want from you. Leave this declaration in the comments section. I choose powerful kindness. Now let's dive deep. The kindness trap. Let's begin by confronting something that's going to make you squirm. When you're perpetually nice, perpetually available, perpetually accommodating, people don't catalog your value in their minds. They catalog your accessibility. Consider the individuals in your world, right at this moment. The ones you drop your entire life for without hesitation. The ones you assist without even pausing to think. The ones who know with absolute certainty that you'll always show up, always be there, always come through. Now force yourself to answer this question honestly. Would they mirror that behavior for you? If you had to pause before responding, if you felt that uncomfortable twinge in your stomach, you already possess your answer. Here's the mechanism that unfolds when you're excessively kind, excessively available, excessively understanding. You transform into the person people dial when they need something extracted from you. Not the person they hold in high regard. Not the person they look up to with admiration. The person they utilize as a resource. And I'm not articulating this to wound you or make you feel diminished. I'm articulating it because it represents the unvarnished truth that nobody else will tell you. Think about this dynamic carefully. The individual who always agrees, The individual who never offers resistance or pushback. The individual who's available at 3 o'clock in the morning, prepared to listen, prepared to help, prepared to sacrifice their own time and mental energy without question. Are they admired in their social circles? Are they celebrated and honored? Are they granted the respect their actions should command? No. They're utilized. They're exploited. They're depleted. Because human beings don't assign value to what arrives effortlessly. They assign value to what carries a price tag. They respect what comes with boundaries attached. When you make yourself available around the clock, your time transforms into something worthless in their eyes. When you never articulate no, your yes carries zero significance. When you give perpetually without any expectation of reciprocity, people don't continue feeling grateful. That gratitude evaporates and gets replaced with entitlement. You become ambient noise in their lives, a utility to be accessed whenever convenient, a safety mechanism they know will always catch them when they fall. And the most tragic element of this entire dynamic? You've probably convinced yourself that this is what genuine love looks like, that this is what authentic friendship demands, that this is the behavior pattern of good, moral, decent people. But let me pose something to you. If being endlessly giving actually generated respect from others, wouldn't you be drowning in respect at this point in your life? If always being available actually made people value your presence, wouldn't you feel deeply valued? The fact that you're here, consuming this content, tells me you don't feel those things. And that reality brings us to the second truth you need to absorb. You could be the most honest individual in any room you enter, the most loyal friend anyone could ask for, the most authentic, genuine human being walking this planet, the most pure-hearted soul with the most beautiful intentions imaginable. But if you possess no power, no influence, no weight behind your words when you speak, your goodness transforms into something forgettable, something people can easily overlook and dismiss. People respect results and outcomes, not just beautiful intentions floating in the abstract. I understand that's difficult to absorb. We desperately want to believe that being good is sufficient on its own, that doing the right thing carries inherent meaning regardless of outcome, that integrity broadcasts itself without needing anything else. But it doesn't work that way. History overflows with good people, kind people, moral people who got absolutely crushed because they possessed no power to shield their goodness from the wolves. Because in the actual world we inhabit, goodness without influence becomes invisible. It might as well not exist. You can possess the most brilliant ideas in that conference room, but if you don't understand how to present them with conviction and authority, someone else will appropriate them and receive the promotion you deserved. You can be the most faithful friend anyone could want, but if you don't command respect through your presence and boundaries, people will betray you without experiencing a moment of guilt or hesitation. You can be the most loving partner imaginable, but if you don't maintain standards for how you'll be treated, you'll be taken for granted until there's nothing left of you. This is where people's thinking gets completely scrambled. They operate under this false belief that power and goodness exist in opposition to each other, that you face a binary choice between being kind or being strong. That's complete nonsense, and it's a lie that keeps good people powerless. The truth is simultaneously simpler and more challenging to implement. Goodness needs power to survive in this world. Kindness needs strength behind it to mean anything. Your values need protection, or they become targets painted on your back for others to exploit. And here's where this dynamic becomes even worse, even more insidious. When you're good without power, People don't simply ignore you and move on. They start testing you, pushing against your boundaries to see how far they'll bend, seeing how much they can extract from you before you finally push back. Because life isn't fair, and life absolutely doesn't reward the nicest person in the room. Life rewards the person who understands when to be nice and when to draw a line in the sand that cannot be crossed. The person who gives from a place of choice rather than obligation. The person who helps because they genuinely want to, not because they're terrified of what saying no might cost them. The more good you are without establishing boundaries, the more people will test your limits. They'll show up late and expect you to wait without complaint. They'll cancel plans at the last minute and expect you to understand and accommodate. They'll ask for favors repeatedly and vanish completely when you need help. And every single time you allow it to slide, every time you swallow your frustration and say, "It's fine," you're teaching them something crucial. You're teaching them that your boundaries don't matter, that your time doesn't matter, that you don't matter. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to articulate. The thing that will make you angry when you first hear it, but that you'll recognize as absolutely true. People use you because you never established boundaries in the first place. You train them to expect everything while giving nothing back. Read that sentence again. Let it penetrate. Let it sit heavy in your chest. You didn't intend for this to happen. You thought you were being kind and generous. You thought you were being a good friend, a good partner, a good person living according to good principles. But what you actually accomplished was teaching people that they can walk all over you without facing any consequences. That they can take and take and take, and you'll just smile and give even more. And now you're confused and hurt about why people don't appreciate you, why they don't respect you, why they keep hurting you in the same ways over and over. It's because you never demonstrated that hurting you carries a cost. You never showed them that crossing your boundaries results in consequences. You never proved that taking you for granted means losing access to you. Drop this declaration in the comments. My boundaries protect me. Let's push deeper into this, into territory that's going to sting. You can possess the purest motivations imaginable, the most elevated moral standards, the most beautiful intentions a human being can hold. But if you project weakness, if you appear as someone who can be pushed around, people will ridicule everything you stand for. Your ethics transform into a joke. Your principles become something people snicker about when you're not in the room. Your values get dismissed as naive, as childish, as the quaint beliefs of someone who doesn't understand how the real world operates. This is brutal to confront, but it's undeniably real. Think about the individuals you know who are perpetually being taken advantage of. The ones who constantly complain about mistreatment, but never modify their behavior. The ones who keep extending second chances, third chances, infinite chances to people who transparently don't deserve them. The ones who keep pouring energy into relationships that only flow one direction. Now be honest with yourself. Do you respect those people? Do you admire them? Do you look at them and think, that's someone I want to emulate? Or do you feel a mixture of pity and frustration? Do you shake your head and wonder why they keep allowing the same patterns to repeat? Neither does anyone else. And here's what makes this even more painful. If you're watching this content right now, there's a strong possibility you are that person to someone else. That someone in your life looks at you with that same mixture of pity and frustration, wondering why you keep accepting treatment that no one should tolerate. Wondering why you keep giving pieces of yourself to people who treat you like you're worthless. Because here's a truth that cuts to the bone. Goodness that tolerates wrongdoing becomes complicit in it. When you allow people to treat you poorly without consequence, when you accept disrespect with a smile, when you enable toxic behavior by refusing to establish boundaries, you're not being virtuous. You're not being the bigger person. You're participating in your own mistreatment. You're giving your silent approval to the very behavior that's destroying you. And I need you to understand something else. Something that's going to fundamentally shift how you view your own behavior. Most of what you call kindness isn't actually kindness at all. It's fear. It's fear wearing a mask of virtue. You're not being kind when you say yes to something you want to refuse. You're being afraid. Afraid of conflict, afraid of rejection, afraid of being alone, afraid of being perceived as difficult or demanding or selfish, afraid of disappointing others. That's not kindness. That's fear controlling your choices. That's not virtue. That's cowardice disguised as compassion. And people can sense it. They can smell that fear on you like predators smell blood in the water. They recognize that you won't stand up for yourself, that you won't enforce your boundaries, that you'll ultimately cave if they just push hard enough or make you feel guilty enough. So they push, they test, they take, because they know they can. Your goodness, your kindness, your moral code, these things that should be your greatest strengths, have been weaponized against you. People use your own values as tools to manipulate you, to control you, to extract whatever they want from you. They've learned exactly which buttons to press to make you comply. I thought you were a good person. I thought you cared about me. After everything I've done for you, you're going to say no? I guess you're just selfish now. You've really changed. These phrases are weapons, and you keep letting them work. Every time you surrender to this manipulation, every time you override your own needs because someone made you feel guilty for having boundaries, you're proving to them and to yourself that you can be controlled. You're demonstrating that your values, your boundaries, your well-being, all of it has a price. And that price is simply making you feel bad enough. And here's what's really happening beneath the surface. Your goodness isn't creating healthy, reciprocal, beautiful relationships. Your goodness is enabling dysfunction. It's enabling toxic patterns. It's enabling people to avoid growth, avoid accountability, avoid becoming better versions of themselves. Because why would they change? Why would they grow? Why would they treat you better when treating you poorly works perfectly well for them? Think about this pattern honestly. You help people who never change their destructive behaviors. You extend chances to people who waste them repeatedly. You sacrifice your time, energy, resources, and emotional well-being for people who never sacrifice anything back. You're not helping them by doing this. You're not being a good friend or partner or family member. You're enabling their dysfunction while simultaneously enabling your own. Because, and this is the part that's hardest to admit, you're addicted to this dynamic. You're addicted to being needed. Your entire identity has become wrapped up in being the helper, the giver, the person who's always there, the one everyone can depend on, the one who never lets anyone down. That's who you've told yourself you are, and you're terrified of losing that identity. But ask yourself this question and really sit with it. Who are you if you're not endlessly giving? Who are you if you're not the person everyone calls? Who are you if you're not sacrificing yourself for others? If that question makes you uncomfortable, if you don't have an immediate answer, you've identified the core problem. You've constructed your entire sense of value and self-worth on what you do for others, rather than on who you inherently are. Your worthiness has become conditional, dependent on your usefulness to others. And that's not sustainable. That's not healthy. That's not living. That's slowly dying while calling it virtue. Because here's what you've actually created. You've made yourself into a vending machine. People insert the right combination of words: flattery, guilt, sob stories, emergencies. And out comes whatever they want. Your time, your energy, your resources, your attention, your emotional labor. And when the vending machine stops dispensing what they want, when you finally establish a boundary or say no, they don't see you as a person who deserves respect. They see you as a malfunctioning machine that needs to be fixed or replaced. Drop this declaration in the comments. My worth is not determined by what I give. Now, you might be thinking this all sounds harsh. You might be thinking that Machiavelli was teaching people to be cruel, to be manipulative, to be the kind of person you never want to become. But that's not what he was teaching at all. Machiavelli wasn't instructing princes and leaders to be cruel for cruelty's sake. He was teaching them to understand reality as it actually exists, not as we wish it existed. He was teaching them that in a world where some people will absolutely exploit goodness, where kindness is often mistaken for weakness, where generosity is frequently rewarded with betrayal, you need to be strong enough to protect yourself. You need to understand power dynamics. You need to recognize when someone is using your values against you. You need to be willing to walk away from people who don't deserve access to you. That's not cruelty. That's wisdom. That's survival. That's self-respect. And if you don't develop this understanding, if you continue operating as though everyone has good intentions and the world will reward your goodness automatically, you will continue being exploited. You will continue being hurt. You will continue being taken for granted. Not because you're not good enough, but because you're good without being strong. You're kind without being respected. You're generous without being valued. The world doesn't need another person who gives until they have nothing left. The world doesn't need another person who's kind to everyone except themselves. The world doesn't need another person who values everyone's needs above their own. What the world needs, what you need to become, is someone who understands that real power isn't about controlling others. Real power is about controlling yourself, your choices, your boundaries, your life. Most people have this completely distorted understanding of what power actually means. They think power looks like domination, like being the loudest voice in every room, like controlling others, manipulating situations, forcing people to bend to your will. They think power means making people fear you, making them do what you want, making them submit to your authority. But that's not power. That's insecurity wearing a crown. That's weakness pretending to be strength. That's someone so fundamentally unsure of their own value that they need to constantly prove it by dominating everyone around them. Machiavelli's actual teaching, the lesson that gets lost when people reduce his work to sound bites and misquotes, is this: genuine power is the capacity to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. Read that again, because it changes everything. Real power isn't about what you can force others to do. It's about what you refuse to tolerate in your own life. Let me break this down into something concrete. Something you can actually apply starting today. Real power isn't the power to inflict harm on others. It's the power to protect yourself from harm. It's not the power to take from others. It's the power to refuse what doesn't align with your values. It's not the power to control people around you. It's the power to control your own existence, your own choices, your own path forward. Real power is saying no without drowning in guilt afterward. It's declining that favor you genuinely don't want to do, even when someone tries to make you feel obligated. It's turning down that invitation you have zero interest in accepting, even when people pressure you. It's refusing that request that tramples across your boundaries, and doing it without apologizing repeatedly, without constructing elaborate justifications, without feeling like you owe anyone a dissertation explaining why you're protecting your own time and energy. That's power. That's self-respect manifesting as action. Real power is walking away from disrespect and doing it with your head held high. It's terminating that friendship that only functions in one direction, where you give everything and receive nothing. It's leaving that relationship that drains every ounce of energy from your body. It's quitting that job that treats you as expendable despite your contributions, even when it's terrifying, even when it feels like jumping off a cliff into darkness, even when people weaponize guilt to convince you to stay. That's power. That's choosing yourself when the world tells you to choose everyone else. Real power is exercising selectivity about who deserves your energy, your time, your presence. It's being ruthlessly discerning about who gets access to you. It's understanding with complete clarity that not everyone deserves your time, your kindness, your attention, your investment, and being absolutely comfortable with that reality. Not everyone is your person. Not everyone deserves your best. Not everyone has earned the right to your generosity, your patience, your understanding. That's power. That's protecting your most valuable resource, yourself. See, most people think power looks like dominance because that's what they see in movies, in corporate hierarchies, in toxic relationships. They think it's being the loudest person who steamrolls everyone else. They think it's controlling others through fear or manipulation. They think it's making people do what you want, regardless of what they want. But that's not power. That's desperation. That's insecurity wearing an expensive suit. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. Real power doesn't need to prove itself. Real power is quiet. It's calm. It's steady. It's the ability to remain centered and grounded when everyone around you is losing their minds, spiraling into chaos, drowning in drama. It's the ability to maintain your boundaries even when people push against them with everything they have, even when they guilt you, manipulate you, try every tactic in their arsenal to make you fold. Real power is being kind without being weak, generous without being exploited, loving without being taken advantage of. Real power is the CEO who doesn't need to raise their voice because everyone in the room already respects them. Their presence commands attention. Their words carry weight. They don't need to dominate or intimidate because their competence and boundaries speak for themselves. It's the friend who doesn't need to constantly prove their value because everyone already knows it, already feels it, already appreciates it. It's the person who can be generous and giving without being used because everyone knows there are limits. Everyone knows that crossing certain lines means losing access. That's the kind of power we're discussing here. That's the kind of power you need to develop if you want to stop being treated like you're disposable. And here's why this matters so profoundly, why this changes everything. When you have power, real power, authentic power, the kind of power that comes from self-respect and boundaries, your kindness transforms completely. It stops being something people expect as their automatic right and starts being something people genuinely appreciate. It stops being a weakness they exploit and starts being a strength they admire and respect. Because now your kindness comes with self-respect attached to it. Your generosity comes with boundaries attached to it. Your forgiveness comes with standards attached to it. You're not kind because you're terrified of being anything else. You're not nice because you're afraid of conflict or rejection. You're kind because you actively choose to be, and that choice makes all the difference in the world. People can feel the difference in their bones. They can sense it instinctively. They can tell when someone is giving from a place of abundance, from a place of strength, from a place of choice, versus giving from a place of fear, obligation, desperation. They can tell when someone is being nice because they genuinely want to be, versus being nice because they feel they have to be, or they'll face consequences. And they respond completely differently to those two versions of kindness. When you're kind from a position of power, from a place of self-respect and boundaries, people value it. They treat it as the gift it actually is. They appreciate it. They don't take it for granted because they know it's not guaranteed. They know it's not something they're entitled to. They know they could lose it if they abuse it. But when you're kind from a position of weakness, from a place of fear and people-pleasing, people abuse it. They exploit it. They take and take and take until there's nothing left. Same kindness, same actions, same generosity, but different context, different foundation, completely different outcome. This is what Machiavelli understood 500 years ago. This is what every powerful person throughout history has understood instinctively. This is what you need to understand right now if you want to stop being walked over, stop being used, stop being treated as though your needs and boundaries don't matter. Goodness is not weakness. Let me be crystal clear about that. Being good, being kind, being generous, none of these things are inherently weak. But goodness without boundaries absolutely is weakness. It's vulnerability wrapped in virtue. Kindness is not naive. Kindness is beautiful. But kindness without self-respect is naive. It's giving people permission to hurt you. Generosity is not foolish. Generosity is noble. But generosity without limits is foolish. It's depleting yourself for people who would never do the same for you. You can be all the good things you want to be. You can be kind and generous and forgiving and patient and understanding. But you need to be strong enough to protect those good things. You need to be powerful enough to ensure your kindness isn't misinterpreted as weakness. You need to be respected enough that people pause and think twice before crossing you, before taking you for granted, before assuming you'll tolerate anything. That's not about changing who you are at your core. It's not about becoming someone unrecognizable. It's about protecting who you are. It's about making sure the world doesn't punish you for being good. Because right now, if you're honest with yourself, if you strip away the justifications and excuses, the world is punishing you for being good. People are weaponizing your kindness against you. Your generosity is being exploited systematically. Your patience is being abused repeatedly. Your forgiveness is being treated as permission to hurt you again. And it's going to keep happening. It's going to continue in this exact same pattern until you make a decision that it stops. Until you decide with absolute conviction that being good doesn't mean accepting the role of doormat. That being kind doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. That being forgiving doesn't mean allowing repeated betrayal. That being understanding doesn't mean having no standards for how you'll be treated. You can be all those beautiful things: kind, generous, forgiving, patient, understanding, compassionate. These are qualities worth preserving. But you need to be powerful too. You need to have boundaries that you actually enforce. You need to have standards that you refuse to compromise. Because kindness without strength backing it up isn't virtue. It's vulnerability. It's exposure. It's handing people a map to all your weak points and trusting they won't exploit them. And in a world absolutely full of people who will exploit vulnerability without hesitation, people who see kindness as weakness to be taken advantage of, you cannot afford to be that exposed. You cannot afford to leave yourself that defenseless. So here's what you need to understand. Here's what you need to extract from this entire conversation and carry with you. Being good doesn't make you weak. Being kind doesn't automatically make you a target. Being generous doesn't make you a fool. These qualities are strengths when properly protected. But being good without boundaries does make you weak. Being kind without self-respect does make you a target. Being generous without limits does make you a fool in the eyes of those who exploit you. The world doesn't need more nice people who get walked over and discarded. The world doesn't need more good people who get used until they're empty and then thrown away. The world doesn't need more kind people who give and give and give until there's nothing left of them, until they're hollow shells of who they could have been. That's not noble. That's tragic. What the world genuinely needs is strong people who choose kindness from a position of power, who give because they want to, because it aligns with their values, not because they're afraid of what happens if they don't. Who forgive because they're secure enough to let things go, because they're choosing peace, not because they're too weak to demand better treatment. That's the person you need to become. Not someone who stops being kind, someone who's kind on their own terms. Not someone who stops caring about others, someone who cares about themselves as much as they care about others. Not someone who stops giving, someone who gives to people who deserve it and walks away from people who don't. Someone who understands that not everyone has earned access to your generosity. Stop giving your power away like it's worthless. Stop letting people treat your kindness like it's something they're entitled to. Stop accepting behavior you would never tolerate from yourself. Stop making excuses for people who repeatedly show you exactly who they are. Start protecting what matters. Start enforcing your boundaries with consistency. Start being the kind of person who people respect, not just someone people use when it's convenient. Because kindness without strength isn't virtue. It's vulnerability. And you've been vulnerable long enough. You've been exposed long enough. You've been hurt long enough. It's time to be powerful. It's time to be respected. It's time to be someone who gives from choice, from abundance, from strength. Not from obligation, not from fear, not from desperation. Machiavelli wasn't instructing you to be cruel. He wasn't teaching you to become manipulative or heartless. He was teaching you to be intelligent, to understand how the world actually functions, not how you wish it functioned. To protect your goodness with strength so it survives in a world that will absolutely attempt to destroy it if you let it. To recognize that idealism without realism is just naivety waiting to be exploited. So ask yourself right now, in this moment, are you being kind from a position of power or from a position of fear? Are you giving because you genuinely want to or because you're terrified of what happens if you don't? Are people respecting your boundaries or are you not setting any in the first place? The answer to those questions will tell you everything you need to know about where you are right now, about what needs to change, about who you need to become. And if you don't like the answer, if it makes you uncomfortable, if it reveals a pattern you've been avoiding, good. That discomfort is the first step toward change. You know exactly what needs to transform. You know exactly what you need to do differently. Before you go, if this message opened your eyes to something you've been avoiding, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear this truth. Subscribe to this channel, because we're going to keep having these real, unfiltered conversations that nobody else wants to have. The conversations that make you uncomfortable because they're true. Remember this single truth. Respect yourself first. Everything else follows naturally from that foundation. Your relationships will improve because you'll only maintain relationships with people who treat you well. Your career will improve because you'll only accept positions that value your contributions. Your entire life will improve. Not because you became mean or cold or heartless, but because you became strong. Not because you stopped caring about others, but because you started caring about yourself too. Because you recognize that you can't pour from an empty cup, that you can't help others if you're destroying yourself in the process. That's the shift. That's the change. That's what separates people who get walked over from people who get respected. It's not about being cruel. It's about being strong. It's not about being selfish. It's about having self-respect. It's not about stopping kindness. It's about being selective with your kindness, strategic with your generosity, intentional with your time and energy. So make the choice right now. Stop being the person who everyone uses and discards. Start being the person who everyone respects and values. Stop giving your power away to people who don't deserve it. Start protecting what matters. Your time, your energy, your peace, your well-being. Because kindness without strength isn't virtue. It's vulnerability. And you deserve better than spending your life vulnerable to people who see your goodness as something to exploit rather than something to honor. Drop your affirmation one more time in the comments. I am powerful and kind. Now go be that person. Go embody that truth. Go into the world as someone who gives from strength, who loves from security, who operates from a foundation of self-respect that nobody can shake. The world is waiting for that version of you. The version that's kind but not weak, generous but not exploited, good but not foolish. That's who you're meant to be. That's your next evolution.